Today, we're going to dive into something pretty heavy. We're looking at how an entire kingdom can literally self-destruct. We'll use the ancient account of the northern kingdom of Israel to investigate a question that honestly echoes right through to today. I mean, think about that for a second. How does a whole society, a culture, a nation just vanish? This wasn't just losing a war, it was complete annihilation. And the ancient text we're looking at gives a verdict, a cause of death, if you will, that is both shocking and, believe it or not, surprisingly modern. So let's start at the end, with the final judgment. Okay, so our investigation actually begins with the end of the story, with the final verdict handed down on this kingdom. The text reads almost like a coroner's report. And let me tell you, the findings are grim. So what on earth went so horribly wrong?
The source material doesn't pull any punches at all. It just lays it all out there. A long, comprehensive, and totally damning list of charges. This wasn't just one mistake. It was a catastrophic system failure.
And wow, what a list it is. Just take a look. They were worshiping things they had made with their own hands, copying the exact practices of the nations they were warned about. It even gets into child sacrifice and divination. You know, this isn't just a few missteps. This is a complete societal meltdown. It's what a culture looks like when it has totally lost its moral compass.
The source material just sums the whole thing up with this incredibly powerful phrase: they sold themselves. This isn't just about making bad choices anymore. This is about willingly giving up your freedom to forces that will destroy you.
And it's fascinating how the source explains this idea. It uses the language of addiction, which we can all understand today. I mean, think of someone who sells their freedom, their health, their family, all for a destructive habit. That's the picture here. This kingdom willingly enslaved itself to its own brokenness.
So here's the crucial question. Is this horrifying list the actual root cause? Or is it just a bunch of symptoms? Was this kingdom just rotten from the very beginning? Or did a sickness creep in slowly over a long period of time? And this is where the story gets really, really interesting.
All right, so if that whole list of horrible sins was just a symptom, what was the actual disease? Well, to find that out, we've got to go back, way back to the origin point of this national disaster, to the very first step on that long road to ruin.
You know, the source brings up this famous proverb, and it is the perfect way to frame what happened here. Catastrophic failure almost never starts with a giant explosion. It usually starts with something that seems small, something logical, maybe even justifiable.
The kingdom didn't just collapse because everyone woke up one day and decided to sacrifice their children or worship idols. No, the seed of its complete destruction was planted in a moment of, well, political pragmatism. A choice made by a king who was just trying to solve a political problem.
And here it is, the first step. So King Jeroboam was worried about national security. He was afraid that if his people kept traveling to the enemy's capital city, Jerusalem, to worship 3 times a year, their loyalty would eventually shift. So what was his solution? He decided to build local worship centers with golden calves. And get this, he didn't say, hey, let's worship a new god. He said, here, worship Yahweh, the God who brought you out of Egypt. Just do it through these golden statues. It was a compromise. And this just nails the core issue, doesn't it? It was this crazy mix, this blending of true faith with pagan ideas that acted like a slow poison in their system. It wasn't an outright rejection of God, not at first. It was a corruption of how he was to be worshipped. And that one pragmatic compromise just kicked the door wide open for generations of decay. But here's the thing. This story of failure didn't just happen in a vacuum. To really understand how deep this tragedy goes, you have to look at the other side of the relationship, at all the repeated warnings and the acts of grace that were just ignored.
Their rebellion wasn't against some, distant, uninvolved God. The text is super clear that their actions were a direct response to a long, long history of salvation and provision.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It is brutal. He rescues them from slavery in Egypt. They turn around and worship other gods. He gives them a homeland. They decide to adopt the corrupt practices of the very people he drove out of that land. He sends prophets to warn them, to call them back. They just ignore him. As the source material puts it, this wasn't just disobedience, it was a slap in the face to the one who saved them. So what is the real root cause here? If the golden calves were the first step on the path, and that horrible list of sins was the final destination, what was the engine driving them down that road? The source points to one core problem: a failure to remember. According to the source, it all boils down to this: they forgot. They forgot who God was, and they forgot what he had done for them.
And you have to understand, in the biblical way of thinking, forgetting isn't just a passive slip of the mind.
This is so key. In this mindset, you absolutely cannot separate what you believe from how you behave. It's like if you say, "I hear you," but then you don't do what was said. The Bible's perspective is, no, you didn't really hear me. To remember is to act on that memory, and their behavior was proof that they had completely forgotten.
And this is where the source kind of turns the camera on us. It becomes a deeply personal question. It's a challenge to look at our own lives and ask, do my actions, my choices every single day actually reflect a memory of who God is and what He's done for me?
And because they forgot, a vacuum was created. They lost their unique identity, their whole understanding of reality. So what did they do? They just defaulted to the culture around them, which led them right back to that horrible list of sins we saw at the very beginning.
This slide just breaks down the fundamental clash of worldviews perfectly. The nations all around them believe that this physical world we see, well, this is it. It's the ultimate reality. But the biblical view says, no, this world is created. It's not ultimate. There is a creator who stands outside of it and above it.
And that changes everything, doesn't it? If this world is all there is, your goal is to try and manipulate the forces within it for your own benefit, to get more crops, more power. That's where things like magic and fertility rituals come from. But if this world isn't ultimate, then you can't manipulate the Creator. The only way to relate to Him is through obedience and trust.
And that is the final provocative question the source leaves us with. It's the question the Israelites got wrong, and it led to their total destruction. And it's a question that every single person and every society eventually has to answer for themselves. Is this world it, or is there something more? Your answer will determine everything.